Hello and welcome to Gegenpressing. This is a quick Bundesliga reaction show, really quick Bundesliga reaction show on a Saturday evening, night, morning, afternoon, wherever you are. We are reacting to the top Spiel result, Bayern against Leipzig. We have hyped this up for weeks now, Stefan. He's Stefan Biankowski, of course. I'm Manu and and I think about 30 minutes in, both of us thought, oh man, what have we done? We should have never hyped this game up because it looked like Bayern were just going to crush Leipzig. But it's actually turned out to be the opposite, Stefan. Leipzig win 3-1 in what was dubbed the title deciding game. Not because Leipzig are in the title race, even though they probably should be. There's a different story altogether for the Monday show, but because this was considered the last possible stumbling block for Bayern Munich on their way to their 11th title in a row. And boy, did they fall over. Smack onto their face. And it's now up for Dortmund to do what they need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. This was the fixture in which we all thought this is a potential banana skinner for Bayern. This is the
Yeah.
real test for them, and ultimately they failed it in the most, as you said, dramatic of fashion. So for anyone who missed the game, Bayern really dominated the opening kind of stages of this game. I don't even
Mm,
think Leipzig managed to string two passes together for the first
no.
30 minutes. After about 26, 27 minutes, I think, Serge Gnabry had the ball in the back of the net. Bayern had a number of chances. I think Kingsley Coman's
Mm,
header towards the end of the first half stands out.
yeah.
It really, really looked like a game in which Bayern were going to be classic FC Bayern. They were going to roll over their opponents. They were going to dominate. They were going to do what was expected of them.
Mm,
And that's what we've come to expect from Bayern Munich. But things changed at half time. I don't know if maybe the momentum just kind of got sucked out of the
yeah.
team, but if you kind of look at the XG for the game, which so anyone who doesn't really know, XG is just a kind of numerical value to kind of gauge a team's goal scoring chances. And Bayern's XG in the first half was 1.23, in the second half it was 0.43. If you compare that to Leipzig, who basically had an XG of 0.36 in the first half, but in the second half, it was 2.06. So, to use an old cliche, it was a game of two halves, but it was a game in which Leipzig really came out in the second half, dominated, and managed to turn around in the most dramatic of
Mm,
fashions. And it now means that, advantage Dortmund going into that kind of. We're recording this obviously before the Sunday game,
yeah.
so don't blame us if Dortmund slip up
Yeah.
tomorrow and this video's mute. But as things stand right now, it's another game in which Bayern just have not looked good enough, and it's kind of been the story of the season, hasn't it?
Yeah, I actually think that the momentum switched even just before half. Soboslai had that hit that Sommer saved, and then I actually think he had an even bigger chance, the one that he curled just over the bar. And I think it actually is kind of that was a bigger chance, and I think it like the broadcast just kind of went over it. But when you saw the replay, that is one that he usually would curl into the top corner, and so it was. I thought it was really interesting how Bayern scored, and then quickly looked like they were going to score another two or three, or put this game away, but then completely gave momentum away. And then, I think Leipzig would have probably maybe even already equalized if Sima Khan hadn't been on the pitch, who had a terrible first 30 minutes. And I think he actually got hurt really early on, right? And you could almost tell he was playing with his handbrake on. The moment Rose reacted, took him off, brought Benjamin Henrichs on, they completely neutralized that right side for Bayern Munich. And from that moment onwards, it was a balanced game, but and then B became a game where Leipzig really took it to Bayern. The equalizer by Konrad Leimer, a player who was probably going to be confirmed to join Bayern Munich any moment now, right? Stands out. That was a goal conceded from a corner, from a counter attack, right? A needless counter attack to concede by Bayern Munich in a situation where they are up 1-0, where they don't really need to press, right? And then what happened afterwards, I thought was very telling. Both penalties were clear penalties, first of all, but I think before the second penalty, Nkunku had a chance where he could have made it 3-1. He had acres of space. He was not even close to being offside. He like runs away he's behind Pavard's back, right, and kind of slips away. I mean, there were so many opportunities for Leipzig to make this a higher score. And then I think after 3-1, Forsberg had another opportunity to make it 4-1. I mean, this could have been a game where in the end, I think if Bayern, yes, yeah, it's kind of like 30 minutes and 60 minutes, isn't it? But at the end, I think Bayern were really lucky, quote unquote, that it was only 3-1.
Yeah, I think that second half was actually probably a good microcosm of what's gone wrong at Bayern Munich. You
Yeah.
can look across that team in the sense that, the kind of bizarre challenges that Pavard was put in, and of course they gave away
Mm.
the penalty, and people maybe watching the highlights might not see this, but 5 minutes before that he put the most bizarre challenge in on Chris Van
Yeah.
Kunku, a high foot, so unnecessary. That kind of lazy, clumsy defending kind of stood out. You look in midfield where I actually thought Goretzka had a decent game, but Kimmich was once again quiet. And then you kind of look across that front line where you've got Muller, you've got Musiala, you've got Serge Gnabry, and now they had moments in the first half, and maybe they had 20 minutes of really
I,
blitzing that Leipzig defence. But the fact that Serge Gnabry
uh,
scores a goal and then goes quiet for 80 minutes just kind of sums up the way that what a lot of Bayern fans I think have been thinking for a while now, that there's so many holes in this team and there's so many players who aren't quite what they once were. And
mm,
I think the fallout from this match, and certainly the fallout, if Bayern do go on and lose the title, will be that you can have Nagelsmann in the dugout, you can have Thomas Tuchel in the dugout, but at the end of the day, this squad relies on players who just aren't consistent enough, players who either have lost a yard of pace or have lost what they
mm,
once had, or emotionally or psychologically they just don't have that same drive to win titles anymore, which is understandable
mm,
because a number of them have won 5, 6, 7 in a row,
yeah.
and they just don't have that same fire in the belly, and I think that was on show for all to see in this game against Leipzig.
I think it's a quality thing, Stefan. I mean, you look at Thomas Müller. I thought the first 30 minutes were his best 30 minutes this season. Um, but when they came out of halftime, there was scenes with Müller and Kimmich really pumping them each other up. Kimmich also giving, doing the chest pump thing with Gnabry. I think they were really up to it. I think they just ran out of gas. And they mean it makes sense that you do run out of gas eventually, considering how long this squad has been doing this together. But Müller was invisible after that first 30 minutes, and that just indicates to me that the legs aren't there anymore. And then I know I had someone comment like, "Well, where's Musiala? Where's Musiala been since the World Cup?" But the guy is 20 years old, right? And he doesn't have the support at the moment to carry this team on his shoulders, right? And so I think it's almost like a combination of too many players that are no longer at their peak and a bunch of players who have limitless potential who are either injured, Davies comes to mind, right? Or just don't have it yet. In Musiala is the case. I think we recently published a graphic on Transfermarkt with highest scoring U20 players in all the top four leagues, and Musiala was first, right? And even
Yeah.
that isn't enough at the moment. And I think that is quite telling.
Yeah, I mean, you can even just look at the fact that guys like Matthias Tell, Ryan
Yeah.
Gravenberch coming on late in the game to try and change things. These are two
Yeah.
players that have been largely overlooked at Bayern this season because there are kind of star players there who are maybe beyond their peak but are still demanding first team football. Thomas Müller is a perfect example. There's been
Mm.
so much drama about him recently about whether he
Yeah.
plays, if he doesn't. There's a big issue with Nagelsmann as well. And you can understand why Bayern fans have been saying, with all due respect, Thomas, you have to step aside and let these other players step
Mm.
in. Maybe in regards to Thomas Matthias Tell, it's more likely to be a Serge Gnabry or a Choupo-Moting here in his way, but it just feels like this team needs a huge reset button smashed over the top of it. I don't know where I'm going with this, but they need something like losing the league title to kind of really sober everyone up, realize what's going on, see the kind of cold stark
Yeah.
light of day, and then draw a line draw a line in the sand and say, right, who do we think we need to hold on to for next season, and who do we need to get rid of? Because if Bayern have another season like this one where they crash out the Champions League, they crash out the German Cup, and they just kind of fumble around in the Bundesliga for most of the season, it's going to be chaos, and it's going to lead to more than just maybe a manager or a few players moving on.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think it doesn't really matter what happens from now to the end of the season. They might still stumble to the title somehow, right? Dortmund still need to win their last two games, and there is a banana skin waiting for them in Munich suburb in Augsburg. So, there is still a potential of a slip up here, but I do agree with you. I think there is a reset coming, and that reset might be top to bottom in this entire club. So yeah, lots to talk about. Obviously, this is just a quick reaction show, so we want to keep our powder dry for the main show that's coming on Monday and all the bonus shows that we're bringing out and the content that we need to write. So Stefan, want to keep this as brief as possible. Enjoy the game tomorrow on Sunday, or if you listen to this on Sunday today, yeah, enjoy it. I think the Bundesliga is alive and well. We have another exciting match day coming. I think as neutrals, and I want to stress this, I do not actually wish Bayern Munich ill. I kind of just enjoy all the twists and turns this Bundesliga title race has given us for the first time in 11 years, 12 years even, right? If you go back to the last one where Dortmund won it in the end. So yes, this has been fun, unless you're a Bayern Munich fan, I guess. But Stefan, we'll be back soon. Until then, auf Wiedersehen.